Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to dive into a story where, after a long and exhausting workday, Alex finds all his pressure disappearing the moment he steps into the quiet farm, shares a simple meal, and holds baby Henry in his arms. But can this little family warmth really give him enough strength to face a huge contract and a possible crisis at the company tomorrow? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next episodes. By the time Alex stepped out of the last warehouse, it felt like the whole day was still clinging to his shoulders. The morning had started before the sun was fully up, with him already at the cassava factory, walking between towering stacks of starch bags. The air there always smelled the same, a mix of dust, dried cassava, and sweat. He went from pile to pile, cutting open sacks, grabbing handfuls of flour, rubbing it between his fingers to check the texture. A large export shipment was scheduled to leave in the afternoon, and if anything went wrong with this batch, the contract tomorrow could collapse before he even signed it. The buyer arrived late and immediately started nitpicking. The moisture level, the packaging, the weight of a few random bags, nothing was quite perfect in his eyes. Alex stayed calm, explained the test results, reminded him of the agreed terms, and refused to let the price be pushed down another inch. The conversation took longer than it should have. By the time they finally shook hands, Alex's throat was dry, his head buzzing with numbers and conditions. From there, he drove straight to the wood workshop. As soon as he stepped out of the truck, the roar of the chopping machine swallowed him whole. Long logs went in, clean cuts came out, and the whole ground seemed to vibrate with each impact. The foreman flagged him over, shouting about one machine that had started to vibrate strangely. Alex crouched beside it, listening carefully. One wrong sound, a grinding bearing, a high-pitched squeal, could mean an expensive breakdown right when they needed output the most. He ran his hand along the frame, asked a few quick questions, weighed the risk in his head. Stop the machine now and fall behind schedule, or push it through another shift and gamble there wouldn't be a breakdown. In the end, he chose a middle line. Lower the speed, keep it moving, and schedule maintenance for the night. All that time, his phone didn't stop. A supplier wanted to confirm the payment date. A foreign partner sent a long message asking if they could move the next container forward because their ship would arrive early. One of his office staff called to check a line in tomorrow's contract, afraid of a tiny phrase that could become a big problem later. Alex answered, decided, reassured, adjusted. Each time one problem settled, another popped up. By late afternoon, when the last truck rolled out through the gate and the yard felt quieter, Alex finally allowed himself to stand still. He leaned against his own truck for a moment, watching the sky turn a soft orange. Logic told him what he should do. Go home, shower off the dust, have dinner with his mother and sister, print the contract, read every line one more time. It was an important deal. A proper boss would be at his desk right now, not anywhere else. But logic wasn't the only thing speaking. As he pulled his phone out to check his emails, another image came to mind first. The small farm on the edge of town. The low house with the new cement yard. The strip of soil where vegetable beds were just starting to take shape. He saw, as clearly as if he were already there, a girl in a faded t-shirt squatting low, hands buried in dark earth, adjusting seedlings with gentle fingers. And somewhere nearby, he imagined baby Henry, round face peeking out from under that little wool hat, giggling at something only he understood. Just thinking of those two made the tightness in Alex's chest loosen, even if only a little. Out there, nobody called him boss. Nobody shoved contracts in his face. Nobody asked him to fix 3 problems at once. "Thoi, gay mo chut," he muttered under his breath, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Nin hai me kon mot lat roi ve jok, hop jong kung juach." He climbed into the truck, turned the key, and when he reached the crossroads, he didn't turn toward the city's lights. Instead, he took the narrower road toward the fields. The landscape changed quickly. Concrete buildings gave way to rows of houses, then to open land broken by scattered trees and ponds. The smell of exhaust faded into the scent of grass and damp soil. Every few minutes, he passed a small shop, a group of kids on bikes, a dog napping in the shade. With each kilometer he drove, the noise of the factory felt a bit further behind him. At one bend in the road, a small agricultural stall appeared beneath a faded blue tarp. On the rough wooden table were rows of green, trays of seedlings, small pots of herbs, bunches of young plants ready to be transplanted. Alex slowed down and pulled over almost on instinct. He stepped out, walked up to the table, and bent over the trays. Morning glory, mustard greens, lettuce, a few tomato plants stretching thin stems toward the sky. He picked up a tray, gently loosened the edge of the soil, checking the roots. Strong, white, reaching, good signs. "Ko bancho kon kai rao muong voi kai nine ha," he said. "Chon giup kon meke naure koe mot chut." The older woman behind the stall gave him a look that was both amused and knowing. "Lai mua vitrong cho kon guai trang trai ha?" she teased. Alex just chuckled. "Da, trong chong goi sieng lam," he replied. "Jay sao nai koi fai mua raung guai cho." She carefully picked the best trays and handed them over. He carried them back to the truck with more care than he'd carried stacks of documents earlier in the day. As he got in and placed the seedlings on the passenger seat, he realized something. All the pressure and numbers were still there in his head, but they no longer filled the entire space. Between them, quietly but firmly, there was now the image of this little farm, this woman, and that child. By the time his tires left the asphalt and bumped onto the familiar dirt path, the sky had deepened into a richer orange, shadows stretching long across the ground. The farm came into view, the modest house with the patched roof, the newly cemented yard, the pigsty looking cleaner than when he first saw it. But what pulled his attention wasn't the house or the pigs. It was the small garden near the fence. There, in the middle of the vegetable bed, was Tuna. She was squatting low, one knee pressing into the soil, one leg bent up for balance. Her shirt was damp at the back, her hair tied up quickly, with a few strands sticking to her neck. In front of her was a tray of seedlings. With calm, practiced hands, she pressed a small plant into the dirt, cupped the earth around its roots, and then reached for the next one. She was so focused that she didn't even notice the truck engine cut off. Alex stepped down quietly, lifted the 2 trays he'd bought, and walked closer. For a few long seconds, he just watched her work. The farm was almost completely silent except for the distant clucking of chickens and the soft splash of water as she dipped a small can into a bucket to water the plants. Compared to the factory, this place felt like another world. Slower, softer, honest. Finally, he cleared his throat and let his voice carry across the garden, gentle and teasing. "Cho an shin trong ke mot hang juoch kong, nhinem lam mate an huang hikwa." Startled, Tuna looked up quickly. Surprise flashed across her face, followed almost immediately by a smile she couldn't hide. "Antoi hoi nao vei?" she asked. "Em tuong hom nyan ban lo bot san voi shuongo. Chakmit lam roi chu." "Song het roi," Alex replied, lifting the trays in his hands as if to prove why he was there. "Tren juong vei, tu nien hi chakem lai kam kui mot min ng guai nai. Nain ge mua temit giong. Cho antam gia kuch koingai voi em juoch kong?" Without waiting for an answer, he set the trays down at the edge of the bed, rolled his sleeves up, and knelt beside her. The soil was cool and slightly damp beneath his palms. He pushed his fingers into the earth, opened small holes, placed each seedling in, and covered the roots with care. Next to him, Tuna moved along with the watering can, letting a soft stream of water fall around each new plant. In that simple rhythm, dig, plant, water, repeat, the noise of his day finally began to fade. Here, there were no contracts, no machines, no buyers complaining. Just soil, seedlings, and the quiet presence of a woman who had slowly become the calm at the center of his storm. When they finally put their chopsticks down, both of them were full in that warm, content way that only a simple, home-cooked meal can give. The little kitchen still smelled of chicken broth and steamed rice. Alex leaned back a little, one hand instinctively resting on his stomach, the other still holding his bowl as if he wasn't quite ready to let the moment end. "This is delicious," Tuna murmured, almost to herself. "It's been so long since I've had a meal with someone sitting across from me like this." Alex glanced up at her, the corner of his mouth lifting. "Then I guess I'll have to try to make sure that it's been a long time. Doesn't happen again." She ducked her head, pretending to focus on gathering the bones into a smaller bowl. "You say that? I don't dare believe it," she replied softly. "But thank you." He didn't push it. Instead, he reached for the empty bowls. "Let me help," he said, standing up. "Watch Henry for me. Make sure he doesn't kick the blanket off." "It's okay, I'll clean it up," she reflexively replied, but then agreed to hand him the bowl. "Just leave it there, I'll wash it later." "No," Alex shook his head. "I should at least wash the dishes after such a delicious meal." They talked as they cleaned up. The clinking of dishes and chopsticks echoed softly in the small kitchen. Alex carried the basin to the faucet in the yard, rolled up his shirt sleeves, almost up to his elbows. Tuna stood beside him, holding a rag to wash them. The two of them coordinated so well that they didn't need to say much. The cold well water flowing over Alex's hands woke him up. All the fatigue from the tapioca flour shipment and the afternoon calls to monitor the progress of the wood workshop suddenly seemed to flow down the muddy water. "If you go home and your mom and sister know you washed the dishes, they will be shocked," Tuna chuckled. "Not really," Alex replied, laughing. "I used to wash dishes a lot when I was little. It's just that later on, I got so busy and ate out so much, I gradually forgot." "Forgot to remember," she said, handing over another bowl. "There's a shortage of people here." "Then I have to hurry to secure a long-term position," he said half-jokingly. The sound of water, laughter, and crickets chirping outside the fields blended together to create a very gentle background noise. After washing, Alex placed the bowls upside down on the bamboo shelf, wiped his hands on a small towel, and returned to the porch with Tuna. "Sit down," she said, pouring 2 glasses of warm water. "It's a beautiful evening." They sat side by side on the steps, their backs against the door frame. A small yard lay in front of them, and beyond it were rows of newly planted vegetables, now just black smudges in the darkness. Above, the sky was full of stars, not obscured by the city lights as it was where Alex lived. The night wind blew, carrying the scent of earth, leaves, and even smoke from the kitchen. "It's been a long time since I've sat still like this," Alex said softly. "No phone, no laptop, no one calling, just the sound of crickets and my heart beating." "Can you hear?" Tuna turned around, his eyes curious. "Listen," he laughed. "Especially these past few days. My heart has been beating a little differently." She pretended not to understand and turned away, but her ears were visibly burning. "What time do you sign the contract tomorrow?" she asked, trying to change the subject. "Early morning, around 9, Alex replied. "The foreign partners are very meticulous. They scrutinize every single line. If everything goes well, my company will have a huge burden to bear." "Are you worried?" she asked. "Yes," he said honestly. "But it's not like it was a few days ago. Back then, every time I thought about the contract, I felt suffocated. Now, I feel scared, but I also feel like I have something to hold on to, like..." He paused, looking sideways at her. "Like just thinking about you and Henry waiting here. I can't let myself fail." Tuna was silent for a few seconds, clutching the glass of water in her hand. "Don't be so serious," she said softly. "What if you can't sign?" "Then I'll find another way," Alex replied without thinking. "But I'm sure of one thing, I won't give up halfway again. Before, there were times when I just wanted to give up because I was so tired. But now," he sighed, but it was a soft sigh, "I don't want to be the one running away anymore, because behind me, there are 2 people watching." The simple sentence hit Tuna's weakest point. She was used to being left behind, over and over again. Hearing the word behind, her heart ached and warmed at the same time. She looked down at her calloused hands, then softly said, "I don't dare to hope for much. Just, no matter what happens in the future, don't be too angry with me." "What are you angry about?" Alex looked straight at her. "If I have to be angry, I'm angry at myself first. Angry that I couldn't come back on time. Angry that I left you worrying alone. Angry that..." He hesitated. "Angry that I realized my feelings? A little late?" Tuna's heart was pounding in her chest, and she quickly changed the subject. "If you don't come home soon, your mother and sister will worry," she reminded. "You should go home. You have to wake up early tomorrow." Alex looked at his watch, knowing it was quite late. He nodded, but did not stand up immediately. "I'm really going," he said, his voice testing her reaction. "If you don't go, who will they sign with tomorrow?" She smiled lightly. "Go. Text me when you get home. I'll take the time to give Henry a bath before going to bed." "Remember that," Alex insisted. "Text me if anything happens. If you're tired or have a fever, or Henry cries too much. Don't be alone." "I know," she nodded. "Drive carefully." He stood up and walked down to the yard. Near the gate, Alex turned to look again. Tuna stood in the golden frame of the door. Behind him was the small room and the sleeping figure of Henry. That image was like a picture he wanted to take with him tomorrow, so that if his heart sank at the last moment, he would remember what he was protecting. On the way home, he didn't turn on the radio or call anyone. The countryside night passed by the car window in alternating shades of light and dark, the sound of insects buzzing. In Alex's mind, the lines of contracts, terms, prices still flashed by, but this time they didn't suffocate his chest like before. Interspersed with them was Henry's laughter, Tuna's embarrassed glance when he misspoke, and a simple but warm meal. When he got home, the living room light was still on. His sister came out, intending to ask a few questions, but seeing his unusually calm expression, she only said, "Go take a bath and go to bed early. Tomorrow is the important day." "Yeah," Alex nodded. I think I'm fine." Going up to his room, the first thing he did was take out his phone and type a short message to Tuna. "I'm home. Good night, Henry and I. I'll try my best tomorrow. For the company, for everyone, and for dinner tonight." He looked at those words for a while, feeling lighter. When he put down his phone, he didn't open his laptop anymore, just neatly arranged the documents on the table, prepared his clothes for tomorrow, and went to the bathroom. The warm water flowed over his shoulders, washing away the smell of smoke, chicken, and soil. But it couldn't wash away the warm feeling in his chest. That night, for the first time in days, Alex slept quickly and deeply. No more tossing and turning, worried about the shipment, afraid of the shredder malfunctioning, haunted by the tense phone calls. In his dreams, he only saw Henry smiling, saw Tuna bowing her head and smiling, saw the small kitchen with yellow lights, and saw himself walking into the conference room the next morning with a calmness he had never had before. The calm of a man who knew. After all the numbers and contracts, what he wanted to keep most was a small farm, a patch of green vegetables, and a family he was beginning to dare to call by name in his heart. After a long, exhausting day checking cassava flour shipments and monitoring the wood workshop, Alex stops by the farm, where everything feels different. He finds Tuna quietly planting vegetables and immediately joins her, turning hard work into gentle teasing and laughter. Together they go to the pagoda to pick up baby Henry, bathe him, and prepare a simple chicken dinner in the small kitchen. Over that warm meal, Alex admits that all his stress disappears when he's with Tuna and Henry, and that this little family gives him strength. But tomorrow, he must face an important contract and major risks at the company. The question is, can this fragile peace at the farm help him stay strong when business storms hit?